Game 3 between the Montreal Canadiens and Vegas Golden Knights gets going tonight from the Bell Center here in Montreal. That's Aaron Ward and Shane Kelly. I'm David Pagnotta. Our coverage brought to you by Bitbuy, Canada's #1 cryptocurrency platform. And gentlemen, let's jump right into this one. Aaron, the Montreal Canadiens come back on a high, winning the last one. The series is tied 1-1. How do the Canadiens keep some momentum going?
Well, I think they build off what happened with their top 4D. With Petrie coming back in this lineup, it really stabilized things. Not only for Price knowing exactly who's playing in front of him, but it kind of looked like it put this lineup at ease. Petrie was really good. Edmondson was outstanding. Saw Weber was a warrior in the last period. So overall, from a Montreal team, I think the psyche was affected. That they felt that it was familiar. From a coaching standpoint, I think the benefit to coming home now, Game 3 in Montreal, is the last change. Montreal's been burned on 4 of the 6 goals off of defense's own faceoffs, all happening very quick and going right in the net. So I think they have to pay special attention, which would likely mean they're going to strategize and figure out who exactly is most successful against the given center that Vegas puts out there in that moment. So Montreal, stick with what they built on in Game 2.
Shane, Alex Tuch was centering the line with Max Pacioretty and Mark Stone in practice. Pete DeBoer said he isn't married to that just yet, but it certainly looks like that's going to happen in this game. How much of a factor will this be in Vegas's favor, or is this a bit of a risky play here for the Knights?
I think it's a bit of shuffling deck chairs in the Titanic. I don't mean to say that Vegas is going down and the series is over or anything like that, but I think people pay a little too much attention sometimes to who's taking the draw, that sort of thing. I mean, this is a team in both games 1 and 2, they've dominated the possession battle. In game 1, they also won the expected goals battle. In game 2, Montreal turned in a vintage New York Islanders performance, really, where they just kind of kept Vegas to the outside, made sure they didn't have any high quality scoring chances, and let Carey Price mop up the rest. So putting Tuch up on that first line, I think the biggest thing is going to be that it's going to get him more ice time, and he's been one of their better forwards. But I don't see it having some sort of immense effect on the series.
I think the only place it would really honestly matter is that if you watch the Stahl and Perry line with Armia, the team has started to gravitate towards playing the puck down below the goal line a lot more and trying to possess it down there. So it's imperative you have that present centerman, the guy that's the safety valve. And I don't know how responsible Tuch is, but we already know that Stone is one of the most responsible players in his defensive zone in the National Hockey League. So that may be the adaptation that happens in this case.
Eduardo, does this take away a little bit from how Vegas spreads out their offense if this ends up being the case? Because Tuch was the primary guy in the third line. Now you've got Janmark, Nick Roy, and somebody else is going to slot in on that third line. Does that affect it, or is it more about let's just push forward with our top 2 lines and see if Montreal can contain it?
I think, honestly, Vegas is an interchangeable parts team across the board. I mean, they're so deep and they're so capable. When we talk about the fact that even in the last 5 minutes, Vegas is still confident enough to roll their fourth line into the process. So I don't think it affects anything. Vegas has to figure out the big picture. The big picture is coming off of that loss. How do they get Montreal's focus off of their confidence and having to react to something Vegas does? So power loading that front line and feeling like you've got a lot of threats up on that front line may make Montreal make some change that takes them out of that comfort zone. And maybe that's what Vegas's approach is. But again, Vegas for me has played with all 4 lines, and I don't think it really matters taking one component out and putting it up into another place. I think they'll find there's a trickle-down effect. Everybody will figure it out, and it's because of the system that Boris put in place for this Vegas team.
Yeah, the only change that Vegas may end up doing from a roster perspective, Brown may come out and Thomas Nosek may come in. He's a game-time decision.
Look, I will say, if you think Tuch is one of your best 3 or 6 forwards, it's never a bad idea to play those guys more. And how do you do that? You move them up in the lineup. So while depth is a good thing, and it can challenge teams who, especially in the bottom pairing, don't have any good defensemen, and maybe that's Montreal. But to me, you want to play your best guys more, especially in the playoffs. So moving them up, probably a positive in that sense.
I think the biggest challenge for Vegas right now is the mental game. They've been winning it in game 1. They've been winning it in the previous series. But now with Montreal coming back and chirping Pacioretty, you saw a lot more of Gallagher and Fleury's face. These things are the things that take them off the topic. And I think Vegas has to get back to feeling dominant in their approach to the game, dominating them physically, and just letting the sidebar stuff kind of play away, especially on the road.
So we know some of the changes and potential here from Vegas's perspective, from an offensive side of things. Montreal's offensive side, is it being totally led now, and is all the confidence put towards Nick Suzuki, Cole Caulfield, and Tyler Toffoli?
I would honestly tell you that I feel like it's not just on them. That's a creative line for me. I watch them play, and they're finding opportunities. I think you look at, and we go back again to what was previously mentioned at the start of this, the Perry Stahl Armia line. Armia's playing out of this world. I think it's disheartening in some capacity for a lot of people in Montreal. Like, who is this guy and where has he been? But maybe it's the fact he's been put with two guys that have been allowing to play that style of game. The style being dictated lends itself to his success. So Stahl and Perry are lagging the puck and being physical and doing things that Montreal's entire lineup doesn't necessarily show up front. And it's allowing for a softening of Vegas and having to really adapt to, when these lines are out here, they play this way. When that fourth line, and I wouldn't call them a fourth line the way they're playing right now, when they're out there, you have to change your approach to how you're playing that group. So I don't think Montreal has to change anything. They're a bend-break mentality right now, bend-not-break mentality, that they're not trying to give up big chances to the Vegas team. And when it presents itself, the Suzukis, as you mentioned, are getting out there and being creative, but they're also, the other lines are doing a pretty good job of getting the puck in the offensive zone and doing something with it, where game one, it was not even noticeable. They barely were in that zone.
You talk about Caulfield. To me, he only played 12 and a half last game. So, while he's not getting a ton of ice time, he did a ton with it. His expected goal share was up over 75%. So earlier I said, hey, maybe it's a good idea for Vegas, play your best players more. Clearly, in this case, it's actually working, as you described, Wardo, to really deploy him in particular situations where he's not asked to do a lot defensively and can create offense for you.
Well, it's the young guys and the old guys helping Montreal here, and they'll be counted on again tonight in Game 3. That older line, the Golden Age, whatever you want to call it, maybe we start calling it the UFA line, because these guys are all free agents this summer, but the Habs will worry about that later. They got bigger things to worry about now. That's Aaron Ward and Shane Kelly. I'm David Pagnotta.